Hey everybody, it's Kyle here. I'm coming to you on a Wednesday afternoon. I felt like coming out and just sharing some more things I've been spinning lately, as well as the record show finds. Been doing a lot of listening, really rediscovering the collection, especially vinyl, which I guess to some degree I'd been neglecting for a while. Well, also, I got a new turntable not too long ago, so it's definitely helping, and hearing things I hadn't quite heard before, and finding things in the bins in the other room that I just even today I found quite a few things that just kind of surprised me, like, when did I get that? But a few things have been spinning over the last few days here. Well, this small stack I'm realizing one thing that's kind of unifying factor is that they all feature guitar in some way or another. So I'll start right in. This is something I found at the same place, but a different record show, maybe 3-4 years ago, which I'm pretty sure Chris was there for that one too. Yeah, Allan Holdsworth and Gordon Beck, The Things You See. Really nice duet album, just guitar and piano. What's really fascinating about this is that I had forgotten how much acoustic guitar Allan plays on here, which of course he's known for his electric playing, but and I don't know, I haven't heard any other albums which he's played acoustically on. I'm sure some of you know of some, but he plays primarily acoustic on here, and Gordon plays acoustic piano and a little bit of Fender electric piano. Yeah, it was recorded during '79 and '80, and again, it's just the two of them. Pretty evenly, compositionally wise, evenly done between the two of them. But you could hear very much Allan's style. Fascinating to hear his various patterns, if you know his playing. Hearing it, on the acoustic, adds another dimension to his playing that I wasn't really aware of. And Gordon at times, who I haven't heard really nearly enough of, he reminds me of Bill Evans a lot of times, even in his more upbeat moments. But just a really nice interplay between the two of them. Very playful and emotional. Goes through a lot of different moods and feelings. And just two master players together. And as soon as I'd seen this, Chris possibly may have pointed it out to me, that it was there. And I think this was at least a year before Allan had passed, which it's kind of like John Abercrombie and some others. It's still hard to believe that they're not on this plane with us anymore. But just some fantastic playing here. Allan Holdsworth and Gordon Beck, The Things You See. Actually, The Things You See is subtitled, the song, The Things You See When You Haven't Got Your Gun. Which I think I've heard that piece reworked with his electric trio, some years later. But it's excellent. It's really nice. The Fifth Season by Timothy Donahue. This is something I had found in fairly recent years, and I think Chris even gave me a copy, and so I think I have another one around somewhere. He knew that I'd be into this. I had heard of him maybe a year earlier from watching an old episode of VH1's New Visions, if you remember that program from late 80s, early 90s. Good pal Jeff, a vinyl spin, had made me a copy of that from way back when, and he was featured on here. He specializes in fretless instruments, fretless harp guitar, classical and electric guitars. And, here's the harp guitar here. If you like early Pat Metheny, like what he was doing on Watercolors, or even with the first Metheny group album from '78, and probably even more so Mark Egan, his work from the '80s on his various basses. I think you definitely would like this. The instrumentation is similar, and again, being fretted, it has a very distinctive sound, and I'm not quite sure if he uses relatively standard or maybe different different kinds of tuning, but of course, being fretless, you're able to bend pitches and kind of play in between the notes in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. So yeah, his tonality is definitely distinctive, and I could even hear like little bits of Andreas Vollenweider. Just to me, like some of the music just kind of brings that to mind. But yeah, if you like any of those artists, I'd say it's a pretty close comparison there. But, yeah, Timothy Donahue, the fifth season. It was recorded in the mid-'80s, in 1985. All of a sudden it starts getting a little dark in here. The window here is facing due west, and I guess it's getting a little cloudy now. But yeah, this is excellent. I don't think it would be too hard to find either. I remember picked up my copy. It was for pretty cheap. But, yeah, I don't know if he's all that well known. Now the next one here is, I got this maybe in the last 5 years. Klaus Hess, Sternentons. It's from Sky Records, which is something that certain record labels, when you see it, you're curious right away. It's from 1983. The label there, and the artist himself. It's totally unknown to me at the time. A multi-instrumentalist. This is an ebow and a guitar, bass, keyboards, drums, with some guests. I'd say, comparatively speaking, if you're into Michael Rother of Neu, his solo stuff, after he left the group, and even going up into the early 80s, this is kind of a similar persuasion. I'd say this is a little more raw to what he was doing, though. In fact, even at times it reminds me of La Dusseldorf, which was from Klaus Dinger, who's the other half of Neu. So kind of can almost be like a bridge between the artist's solo work and what they're doing with different groupings. Rather short, punchy tracks. Yeah, a lot of nice guitar. Yeah, it's kind of like I wouldn't say it's like hard rock, but it's like a psychedelic rock, pop instrumental. Kind of a nice blending of those. Be really nice driving music. If I could get this on another format and play it in the car, it would be I think it'd be perfect for that. But yeah, definitely worth hearing. Nothing really particularly out there, or it's not like other things on Sky. If Cluster or Mobius or Rodelius are a little too far out, this would for your taste. This would be a good thing to, if you want to kind of an entryway into the stuff on the label. This would be a nice one. Again, along with the Rothers. But, yeah, real nice stuff, and one of those things I'd forgotten about for a little while. But, it's definitely worth it. Someone who should be familiar to many of you. Steve Hillock, L. This one I've had in the collection for quite a while, and I'm guessing initially when I heard it, maybe I was hoping for something else, or it didn't quite strike me at the time. But upon revisiting, I like it a lot more. As Gary had pointed out, that this is his introduction to Don Cherry, who guests on here on trumpet and various other instruments. His playing on Lunar Music Suite, the longest cut, kind of sounds like it belongs as much as it doesn't. He solos on trumpet over kind of a improvisational kind of space rock, very expansive piece, and going through a lot of different landscapes. But Don really adds a very distinctive touch to it, and yeah, it's quite enjoyable. This is produced by Todd Rundgren, who I think a lot of us have been going back and forth about. You're talking about the longest album sides, which I guess he's probably one of the best known for a particular album he did of that length. But yeah, really nice, kind of psychedelic, pop, rock, folk mixture, as well as more spacey and experimental. Here's a couple covers on here. Hurdy Gurdy Man by Donovan, and It's All Too Much by George Harrison, which are done pretty straightforwardly for the most part. But, just enough experimentation, to you can definitely tell it's being done by someone different. But yeah, Steve Hillagel. Definitely leading me towards, I've been revisiting Gong and David Allen as well and other related things, so you know how these things are all connected. And then finally here, you have Submergings with, speaking of Carl Weingarten, who Derek had mentioned one of his recent videos. It showed a CD that he's on. He's plays guitar and synthesizers, as well as Gail Ormiston on synthesizer and Phil Neon on guitar. It's a real nice trio here. It's from 80 or 81. Yeah, recorded 80 and 81. If you like Evening Star by Frippinino, and especially Index of Metals, it sounds like they drew from that quite heavily, while adding their own approach, especially the first piece, Layers and Sequence. That's very much in the Index of Metals mold. Kind of bleak, dark, desolate, hazy landscape, where it just keeps, it's like coming across a series of mirages, and it just has that feel to it. Rather dark, but not quite as foreboding as that original piece, but a very kind of honorable take on it. And transitions, refer to it as an ambient medley here. It's just quite interesting that the term hadn't been used all that much in the early 80s, I don't think, aside from Eno, and it was until the 90s where it was a little more common usage. That goes through a lot of different textures and landscapes, and there's snippets of conversation. It's very dreamlike. It sort of sounds like you're having, like when you have like 4 or 5 dreams throughout the night and they're kind of juxtaposed. That's what the piece really feels like. Then Jonah, starting the second side, almost has kind of a nod to Berlin School, so-called, but maybe in a more playful way. And then the final piece, Submergings, is more like kind of getting back to the Frippinino feel, maybe even held in Richard Pinhas in lighter moments. But yeah, this is a real beautiful piece here, and I got this at some point, I think at Half Price Books. It was in the jazz section, interestingly, but I wouldn't call it jazz. But yeah, very nice, and very much recommended for stuff in that mold. And yeah, I think that's it for these. I'll show you. Yeah, as I'm going through, I'm thinking what I might do, if time allows, and just going along with everyday life, as I listen to things, while they're still fresh in my memory, maybe I'll come on and do a video. I'll listen to maybe 3 or 4 things, do a video, go back, maybe listen to a few more, and try a video again. Well, I'll have to see how it goes, but because I'm really just doing a lot of rediscovering and revisiting, and it's been great. It's like you really do find that you are discovering things anew. And, it's fresh within your own collection. But, here's it's playing in the background here. Walter Holland, Transients of Love. I think it was a soundtrack from the late 80s. He plays guitars and synthesizer, and Steve Roach even makes an appearance, playing in a few cuts. Yeah, I found this from the old Starstreams days. That would be the longest video ever if I were to do a show every album I ever learned of from musical Starstreams. Yeah, that would be maybe 8 or 9 hours, I think. Gary talks about his videos going on long. No, that'd be very long. But, yeah, that'll do it for now. Hope we're all well. Thanks for watching, and Hope to be back on soon. Peace, love, and joy.